I do have Northeast Nottoway Elementary School in Ravenwood, Missouri with me today. Hello, Mission Control.
Hey Ryan, this is Mission Control Houston. How do you guys hear me?
We hear you very well. We do have Northeast Nottoway Elementary from Ravenwood, Missouri with us today, and you are welcome to take it from here. They have some really cool questions for you.
Okay, thanks Ryan. And guys and girls, welcome to Mission Control Houston. This is where we actually control all the systems and monitor everything on board the International Space Station. Joining me right now is Todd Quasny. He's one of our ODIN flight controllers. Todd, what are some of the systems you're responsible for?
So as a ODIN flight controller, we're in charge of most of the core computer systems on the space station. So when I say core system, I mean something that actually flies the space station. So something that talks to the communication systems and make sure that we're pointing in the right direction and that we're tracking the sun, things like that.
It's kind of like your outer space IT guy too.
You got it. I'm kind of like the IT fix-it guy.
Okay, well, we're real excited to take some of your questions today. Why don't you give us the first one?
Questions? Yeah.
One day, could Mars be inhabitable?
I think the question was, one day could Mars be inhabitable?
Well, I'm not sure. We have a lot of people looking into that, and unfortunately, something that I don't work with directly. So I certainly hope so. It seems like it'd be a great thing to do if we could get there and inhabit Mars.
We certainly hope so. I mean, there are signs kind of that Mars may have had a climate like ours. Many millions and millions and millions of years ago, even billions. So if some future civilization gets something like terraforming, which any of you sci-fi people know is kind of like making a planet's atmosphere more like ours. I know some of the methods that are, everything's very hypothetical right now because that kind of technology just does not exist. But who knows, maybe a human civilization a million years from now will have the ability to make an atmosphere and turn Mars habitable. But I mean, right now it's way too cold. It doesn't have, Earth's protective magnetosphere, which protects us from all of that dangerous radiation. So I mean, it would be a huge project, and it's something we as a civilization couldn't tackle right now, but maybe sometime in the future we could. All right, what's the next question?
Did you guys have anything to do with the Angry Birds thing, the Angry Birds space?
Wow. Well, I can tell you that I've played a lot of Angry Birds Space, and I'm a big fan. That's for sure. It's always fun to see space applications like that, and get to see something you're not used to. Playing the original Angry Birds. Watching the birds fall just like they would here on Earth, but seeing what they would do in space is a lot of fun.
And I do know they talked to a few of our scientists, help them get down things like the mechanics of actually moving through a gravity. Like if I'm sure a bunch of you guys have been playing Angry Birds Space, when you're actually shooting into an atmosphere, you'll go into an orbit, and they're actually pretty spot on. I've heard with the mechanics of doing that, and also just moving through the vacuum in Angry Birds Space. So we did have a little bit to do with it, but I mean we didn't create the game. All right, next question.
Whenever you're up in the International Space Station, can you call from your cell phone if you have it?
That is a really good question. So, that's a common thing that the astronauts want to do. They're up there for a really long time, and they really like to keep in touch with what's going on Earth as much as possible. So, one of the things that we give to them, the ability is a phone. It's called the IP phone, and it's very similar to the phone that you would have at your house, where you can pick up the phone and dial just about any number you want. We can't call up to them that way, but they're able to on their own time call just about any number they want. They talk to a lot of their friends and family that way, and it really helps them keep in touch with what's going on, outside of just what they can read in news or email.
But no cell phones on space, so they're not texting back and forth all day while they're supposed to be working.
No cell phones. We keep them on a strict schedule during the day, so they're not allowed to get distracted too much by by text messages or phone calls or even playing
Gotcha.
Angry Birds.
All right, next question, guys.
What time is it up there right now?
Oh, that is a great question. So time is something that we kind of take for granted. You know, you look at a clock on the wall or at your watch and you see what time it is. But the problem with time and space is the fact that the space station goes around the Earth every 90 minutes. So you know, at any given point, you know, it could be you know, a number of different times on the ground, whereas in space they're going around really fast. So what we do is we adopted Greenwich Mean Time, so GMT. So it's the time that's actually in Greenwich, England right now, and all the control centers from around the country that interact with the space station, that we all use the same time to make sure that we're all in sync, and the crew uses that on board as well.
I think according to our clock right now, it's 16:11 and 23 seconds Greenwich Mean Time. So that's what time it is up on station right now. All right, next question, guys.
Hey Dan, this is Ryan Schaefer at the DLN. I think we may have lost the school. If we are patient, we may be able to reestablish a connection.
Okay, Ryan, we'll be standing by, waiting for your word.
We're back.
We're back.
Hi.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Mission Control, we do have Northeast Nottoway with us again. Welcome back. I apologize. All right, I hope everything is still okay on your end, but I'm hoping that Dan and our guests today are still able to answer some questions.
Yep, we're still here and ready to go, Ryan.
Great. Then I'll let the kids ask some more questions.
Okay, can we hear the answer to the last question about the time zone, because we didn't get all of that?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so again, really good question. Time and space is a little bit difficult. It's something we take for granted here on the ground. So the space station is going around the Earth every 90 minutes. It's going really fast. So it's not something like we can't keep time like we do here on the planet, because you know the sun rises and sets every 45 minutes. So what we've done is we've adopted a common time. It's Greenwich Mean Time. So the time that's in Greenwich, England right now, and all the control centers that talk and control the space station from around the world all use the same time, so that we use the same time as the space station, and we're all doing the same things at the same time.
And looking at our clock right now, it looks like it's 16, 15, and 21 seconds. So that's about 4:15. They use the military, the 24-hour times. So right now, yeah, it's 16:15 on board station. All right, next question, guys.
Check.
Do you think any living organisms could survive on any planet?
I think the question was, do you think any living organisms could survive on other planets?
Wow, that's a really big question, and it's another one of those that I know that we have a lot of people looking into it, and trying to do that very same thing. You know, kind of goes back to our is Mars inhabitable and our other planets inhabitable, and lots of things have to happen between now and then, but I certainly think that that's something that's a goal for a lot of people.
And I agree. I think it is definitely possible. I mean, a lot of the times we think if something's going to be alive, it has to have things like sunlight and water. But at the same time, we found organisms in some of the deepest and most uninhabitable places on Earth actually living. So there could be any number of things out there that are surviving in ways we don't even understand that could very well be alive. So it's definitely a possibility. When there's as many stars and planets out there as there are, you never know. All right, next question.
What is R2 doing right now?
What is R2 doing now? So right now, R2 is he's asleep, if you will. So when he's not out and activated, then we keep him all buttoned up and kind of sleeping in his own little cubby hole, if you will. So I think that the crew isn't scheduled to play with R2 today, but I know coming out here pretty soon they'll pull him out for some more tests, and we'll get to further expand and understand exactly everything that we can use R2 for. And so it's a wonderful tool and a great asset for NASA.
Yep. And I mean, some of the tests that they've been doing lately, they've been kind of powering him on and moving his arms around, and I think he might have done some sign language the other day.
Yeah, the other day I saw he signed "Hello World" in American Sign Language. It was a really neat thing to see.
So just kind of putting him through his first paces and getting him ready for some more advanced stuff coming up. Okay, our next question, guys.
This is Maverick Cross from Northeast Iowa. Does the clock go backwards up in space?
Do you get that one?
I'm sorry. Could you ask the question one more time?
Could the clock go backwards up in space?
Does the clock go backwards up in space?
So, not really. The clocks in space, operate just like they do here on the ground. They'll just measure how many seconds or how many minutes or hours are going by, and they'll just kind of tick away. Not that I know of that we've ever seen one go backwards, unless we're setting the clock like we would here on the ground.
We haven't quite mastered time travel yet, but we're all hoping sometime in the future. One interesting thing that could happen in space flight, and once you guys kind of get into some higher level science and math courses, is the idea that if you're traveling really, really fast, time doesn't go backwards, but it slows down. And so there are studies being done with clocks that, we send them out there and they travel at thousands and thousands and thousands of miles an hour. And when you compare them to a clock here on Earth, I mean, the time has progressed a little bit slower on those clocks. But I mean, it's such a small amount unless you're traveling the speed of light, which we don't quite do yet. It's not even noticeable. So they don't go backwards, but we may someday be able to slow time down. All right, next question.
Astronauts have a favorite of what kind of food that they eat?
Favorite food?
Do astronauts have favorite foods? They do, and it's kind of an individual taste, just like you would here on the ground. Sometimes you like a good hamburger or hot dog. Sometimes people like spaghetti or lasagna. So it's the same thing for the astronauts on the space station. They have a wide variety of food to choose from, and they kind of have their own favorites. What I'm told, a lot of them tell me after they come back, is they really like spicy foods. For some reason, when they get into space, something about spicy foods just is a little bit more appealing to them. So I hear the shrimp cocktail is to die for when you're in space.
I've heard that quite a bit.
They do have foods that they have a lot of different kinds. Is kind of the big thing to keep in mind. So they try a lot of different things.
So pretty much almost whatever you like on the ground, you can have up in space.
Just about.
To a degree.
Yeah, just about. You can have all kinds of different kinds of food.
All right, next question, guys.
Well, where is the International Space Station over the Earth right now?
Oh wow,
Where are we over the Earth right now? Well, it looks like we are tracking right over the northern Pacific Ocean. It's pretty much right in the middle of the ocean right now, and it's about 247 miles above the surface. So, and again, it's moving at about, I think, 17,500 miles an hour.
That's correct.
So It's only going to be there for a little while. Pretty soon, it'll be over a completely other part of the planet as it goes around in about 90 minutes.
Yep. Looks like it's coming up pretty soon on the southern part of South America, and then it'll fly up over Europe, and then over go back over the Pacific Ocean again.
Yep. All right, next question, guys.
Does their food come in like packages like military food does?
Oh, that's a good one to know. I think that's something that someone should ask before they become an astronaut. Is how's the food come? So, like I said, there's a wide variety of food. They get to eat a number of different kinds, but they're kind of broken up into several categories. So, the military style food that you're talking about is MREs, meals ready to eat. So it's kind of a package where you can open and eat it right away. And some astronauts really like the MREs. A lot of them come from the military or a lot of camping and hiking backgrounds, so they're used to that kind of food and they eat a lot. Some food comes dehydrated, so they have to put water into it first. So they'll heat up some water and make it warm, and then inject it into the food, and it kind of comes to life, if you will. Need that. And then there's some food that's a little bit more fresh and ready to eat, but they don't get a whole lot of that. So it's kind of a treat when they're able to eat some fresh fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, I know. On the cargo craft that just docked, one of the European ones brought up some fresh fruit for the crew, and they always look forward to that. And they get real excited because I mean, pretty much the vast majority of the food is kind of in like these little dehydrated plastic packets where they have to put water in, and like you said, it kind of makes the food come to life after that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know on the cargo vehicle just docked, we make sure that we pack the food one of the last things to make sure they can get to it quick because they're really looking forward to that.
Don't want to open it up and have all kinds of nasty smells coming out as soon as they open up that cargo vehicle. All right, next question, guys.
What kind of training was prepared for what you're doing right now?
It was what kind of training do they do to prepare for everything? Was that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay.
Training. Well, that's a big that's a really good question and very insightful. Quite often you see astronauts on TV and watch NASA TV and see them floating around doing all these really cool things. These cool science experiments and getting to play with R2 and all those types of things. But what you don't see is the hours and hours and hours that the astronauts have to go through training. They do all kinds of training. Everything from learning about the systems on board the space station just in case something were to go wrong. They spend a lot of time with the science developers, the science folks, to sit down and make sure that they're doing all their science experiments correctly and they're getting all the good data back to Earth to be studied and analyzed. And then they do a lot of training for specific tasks like spacewalks. They'll go into the neutral buoyancy lab and go into the big pool, and get in their spacesuits and practice doing spacewalks. So for everything that you see them do all the cool stuff floating around the space station. There's many hours behind the scenes where they train to learn how to do that.
How long do they train, before they actually launch on these expeditions?
I'm not sure the exact number. I know it's on the order of years. So sometimes astronauts will train for 2 or 3 years before they're able to go up on the space station to do all the various things they need to do.
So about 2 years of training for 6 months of actual space flight time. So there's a lot of front end stuff involved before they actually get to go up there and do all the fun things.
Absolutely. And even while they're up there, we'll do some training with them. We mentioned some of the different types of ways we can communicate with astronauts. We'll sit down and go through some additional training. If maybe something coming up that they hadn't quite seen before, they need a refresher, we'll sit down and train them while they're up there too. So a lot of training, a lot of school. It never ends. There's always learning to do.
Never stop learning. All right, next question, guys.
Do they have to train whenever they get back?
Do they have to train when they get back?
They do a lot of work when they get back. Post mission. One of the bigger things that they do is not necessarily receive a whole lot of training, but they conduct a lot of training. Once you've been up there for 6 months, you are the expert on how to operate the space station and what to do. So we really try to capitalize on a lot of their experience and knowledge when they come back to teach the next generation of astronauts, just all the little ins and outs and tips and tricks of how to really maximize this wonderful space station that we have. So there's not necessarily training that they receive, but they do conduct a lot of training.
Okay. Next question, guys.
Do astronauts exercise up in space?
Oh
yes,
boy,
they
do they!
Quite a bit.
Yes. So the environment of space is really hard on the human body. Without gravity, your muscles don't have to work as hard, and the heart doesn't have to pump blood as much, and the bones don't have to support your structure all that much. So one of the things we have to do to counteract all the effects of space on the human body is exercise. So they usually exercise about 2 hours a day. So a good portion of their day is spent just exercising. And they can do anything from running on a treadmill to riding on an exercise bike to doing some things that kind of simulate doing some weightlifting. It's kind of like a giant Bowflex. So they do extensive amount of exercising, to make sure that when they get back to Earth, that their bodies still can work in this gravity environment, and so that they can still walk and move and lift things. So it's very important to the astronauts to exercise.
I've actually heard some of them come back and they almost feel stronger just because of all that exercise they've been doing up in space. I mean, 2 hours a day, it's quite a bit.
Yeah, they really work their muscles and sets a lot of habits. A lot of them become big exercise buffs afterwards because they're so used to doing it for 2 hours a day.
All right, next question, guys.
Has anybody ever got hurt doing stuff?
Has anyone ever gotten hurt doing things? Well, just like working, here on Earth, there's some things do happen. You get a little bump or a bruise, but they do a lot of work making sure that everything the astronauts do in space is very safe. It's something that we take very, very seriously and dedicate a lot of time, and we talk about a lot of training that the crew does to make sure that every aspect of their job is safe. So well, to my knowledge, I don't think an astronaut has ever actually been injured in any way.
I'm pretty sure. And I mean, even if they were, there are a lot of flight surgeons and people here, in mission control and all around the country that monitor all of the astronauts' health and everything like that while they're on board. So if a problem ever did arose, we'd have the people here to help them handle it.
Absolutely.
All right, and I think we got about 1 minute left, so let's do one last question.
What do they drink up in the International Space Station?
What do they drink? Tang, right?
Tang is the drink of all astronauts. They drink a number of different things. They drink a lot of water. They just like on Earth. Water is really good for them, and they drink as much of that as they can. In the morning they like their morning cup of coffee, so they'll drink some coffee. They have Tang or orange juice to drink. Various juices, some apple juice, cranberry juice, things like that. So kind of like the food, pretty wide variety of different drinks.
And one of the interesting things about their water is it's all recycled. So one of the funny quotes that we hear is sometimes you're drinking yesterday's coffee the morning of today. So they have a recycling system on board the station that recycles human waste, things like that, expirated water, and then turns it back into potable drinking water. So, but yeah, lots of water, again, a lot like the food, a lot of drinks that you'd find just down here on Earth. All right, well, I think that's about all the time we have. Really want to thank you guys for your questions. Hope you learned a little bit, and hope you enjoyed your visit and your stop here inside Mission Control Houston.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You are very welcome.